It didn't have teeth. It didn't have a blade. It didn't even have a face. It was just a sleek, white box in a quiet hospital room. It was supposed to be the pinnacle of human genius, a machine so smart it didn't need safety gears. A machine that could cure cancer with the touch of a button. But in the spring of 1986, in a small clinic in Tyler, Texas, the machine stopped being a healer. Ray Cox was lying on the table, expecting a routine treatment. Instead, he felt a jolt of electricity that threw his body into a violent spasm. He heard a sound like a million angry bees. On the other side of the glass, the computer screen didn't show an emergency. It didn't flash red. It just sat there, cold and indifferent, displaying two words that would become a death sentence: Malfunction 54. The operator thought it was a simple glitch. She hit a key to skip the error. She didn't know that she had just authorized the machine to fire a raw, unshielded beam of radiation, tens of thousands of rads, directly into Ray's spine. Ray wasn't being treated. He was being liquidated. And as we move into 2026, the ghost of this machine still haunts every line of code written for our hospitals, our cars, and our lives. This isn't just a story about a bad machine. It's a story about what happens when we trust the system more than our own eyes. The year was 1982. The world was falling in love with the digital. We were moving away from clunky gears and heavy lead plates. We wanted things fast. We wanted things automated. Enter the Therac-25, created by Atomic Energy of Canada Limited. This was the God machine. Previous models, like the Therac-6 and Therac-20, were safe because they were dumb. They had physical metal shields that moved into place. If the machine tried to fire too much power, the shield would physically block it. You could hear the clunk of the safety. It was a lock and a key. But the engineers of the Therac-25 were proud. They decided the software, the code, was so perfect that they didn't need the heavy metal shields anymore. They deleted the hardware safety. The computer will handle it, they said. The software is the safety. Imagine a car with no brakes. Only a computer program that promises to stop the engine when you get too close to a wall. That was the Therac-25. The hospital staff loved it. It was sleek. It was quiet. It didn't make those scary mechanical noises. It just sat there in the dim light, its cooling fans humming a gentle lullaby. But software doesn't have a soul. And software doesn't know when it's lying. The first victim didn't even know she was a victim. In 1985, at a clinic in Georgia, a woman was being treated for breast cancer. During the session, she felt a tremendous heat. She told the technician. The technician looked at the machine. The machine said everything was fine. Weeks later, the woman's skin began to fall off. Her breast was a mass of black, dead tissue. The hospital told her it was just a normal reaction. They trusted the machine. They didn't trust the woman. She died a few months later, and the machine, it stayed in the room, waiting for the next patient. Because as far as the engineers were concerned, the code was perfect, and a perfect machine cannot commit a crime. But the next victim, He would provide the proof, and it would cost him everything. March 1986, Tyler, Texas. Ray Cox was a 33-year-old family man. He had already survived 8 treatments with the Therac-25. He wasn't afraid. The operator, Mary Beth, was an expert. She had used the machine hundreds of times. She could type the commands into the terminal with her eyes closed. Type the dose, hit enter. Type the mode, hit enter. On this day, Mary Beth made a tiny mistake. She typed X for X-ray mode. She realized she meant E for electron mode. She was fast, very fast. Within 8 seconds, she hit the up arrow, changed the letter, and hit P for proceed. To a human, 8 seconds is a long time. To a computer, it's an eternity. There was a race condition in the code. Because Mary Beth had changed her mind so quickly, the computer's brain got confused. Part of the software thought it was in low power mode. Another part of the software thought it was in high power mode. The machine began to move the high power beam into place, but it forgot to move the metal spreader into the path. Ray was lying on the table. He heard a thump. Then, he saw a blue flash of light. Imagine the most intense sunburn you've ever had. Now imagine it happening inside your lungs, inside your heart, inside your bones. Ray screamed. He tried to get up. Mary Beth saw the message on her screen. Malfunction 54. She checked the manual. The manual didn't explain what 54 meant. It just said treatment paused. She thought the machine hadn't fired at all. She thought Ray was just nervous. She hit the P key again. The machine fired a second time. Another 20,000 rads of invisible fire poured into Ray's body. He tumbled off the table, hitting the floor. "I'm burning," he cried. Mary Beth ran into the room. She smelled something metallic, something sweet. It was the smell of ozone. It was the smell of a man being cooked from the inside out. The hospital called the manufacturer. They told AECL what happened. AECL's response? "It's impossible. Our machine cannot do that. You must have made a mistake." They didn't realize that Mary Beth was too good at her job. Her speed was the trigger. If she had been slower, Ray would have lived. The machine was literally punishing people for being efficient. Ray Cox didn't die immediately. That's the horror of radiation. It doesn't kill you like a bullet. It kills you like a rot. His skin turned a deep, bruised purple. Then it turned black. His left arm became a useless weight. He couldn't speak. He couldn't eat. But Ray was a fighter. Before he died, he told the hospital physicist, Fritz Hager, exactly what he felt. He told him about the blue light. He told him about the bees. Fritz Hager became a detective. He sat at the Therac-25 terminal for weeks. He typed. He waited. He typed again. He tried to break the machine. Finally, he moved his fingers as fast as Mary Beth had. Up arrow, change letter, hit proceed. The machine groaned. The screen flickered. Malfunction 54. Fritz had found the ghost. But while he was searching, the machine was still in hospitals across North America. In Yakima, Washington, another man was being treated. He felt the jolt. He saw the blue flash. The hospital there had heard rumors about the Tyler, Texas incident. They called AECL and asked if there was a problem. AECL lied. They told the Yakima hospital that there were no reports of any other accidents. They let the machine keep running. The man in Yakima died in agony. His body was so radioactive that he couldn't be buried in a normal way at first. The company chose their reputation over human lives. They chose their perfect code over the evidence of bleeding, screaming patients. As of 2025, the Therac-25 remains the most studied case of software failure in history. It changed the way we write code. It forced the government to step in and say, you cannot trust a computer to be the only safety. Before the 5 people who died, and the dozens who were left with horrific burns, the lesson came too late. They were the beta testers for a world where we let machines make the decisions of life and death. We like to think we are safer now. We look at our modern hospitals with their 4K screens and their AI-assisted surgery, and we feel protected. But the race condition that killed Ray Cox hasn't gone away. It's just moved into different places. In 2024 and 2025, experts are raising the alarm about AI-driven medical devices. We are once again giving control to black box systems that we don't fully understand. The Therac-25's fatal flaw wasn't just a bug in the code. It was a bug in the human mind. The engineers believed that if the math was right, the reality didn't matter. They ignored the show, don't tell of the human body. One of the most chilling details of the Therac-25 story is what happened to the code itself. When investigators finally looked at the 20,000 lines of instructions, they found it was a spaghetti mess. It was a patchwork of old code from the 70s mixed with new code from the 80s. The variable that tracked the safety check was only 8 bits long. That means it could only count to 255. When the machine reached the 256 check, the counter would flip back to 0. At that exact moment, for a fraction of a second, the machine would think 0 errors, even if the machine was currently on fire for that 1 microsecond. The counter said everything is perfect. If you hit the proceed button at that exact microsecond, the machine would kill you. It was a game of Russian roulette, played at the speed of light. The survivors of the Therac-25 accident spent the rest of their lives in pain. One man had to have his hip replaced, then his leg removed, then his jaw cut out as the radiation rot spread through his skeleton. The God machine had touched them, and it didn't let go until they were gone. The Therac-25 machines were eventually rounded up and destroyed, but the philosophy that built them is still alive. Every time you trust a smart car to steer for you, or a smart app to track your health, you are stepping onto that table. We want to believe that the world is more logical than it is. We want to believe that a system error is just a glitch that can be fixed with a restart. But Ray Cox couldn't restart his heart. The patients in Tyler and Yakima didn't die because of a monster. They died because of a race condition. They died because someone was typing too fast. It makes you look at your own phone differently, doesn't it? You see a spinning wheel. You see a loading bar. You see an error message you don't understand. You think it's just a delay. But somewhere, in a server room, you'll never see, A counter is ticking towards 255, and it's about to reset to 0. Tell me in the comments, do you trust the machines in your life? Or do you always look for the physical safety? Has a glitch ever cost you something more than just time? Tell me your stories below. I'll be watching. Stay safe, stay human. Thank you for watching.